Hi everyone, it's Mrs. Taranja with the Citizenship Academy. Welcome back. We're going to be doing Domain 2, Lesson 8, The Success of Tenochtitlan. Our objectives for today is to summarize how the city of Tenochtitlan was organized and identify factors that led to the success of the Aztec capital, and to compose a reference list for an image you're going to select and write a caption that goes along with it. Our purpose for reading is to read to closely examine the author's words, sentences, and literary devices, and to more fully envision the organization of the city of Tenochtitlan. And our big question is, what factors led to the success of the Aztec capital of Tenochtitlan? Now remember, sometimes we read chapters more than one time, and every time we read it, we have a different purpose for reading. The chapter we're reading today, we've actually already read. Now we have a different purpose for reading it. Before we get into reading the chapter, we're going to prepare for taking notes on our Codex project. So this is the chart that you're going to be using. You're going to create this on a separate piece of paper. And understand you're going to have 3 of these charts. You should have an Aztec one, an Inca one, and a Maya one. This is really important to have because it will help you organize your thoughts and your notes, and it'll make your life a lot easier when you're putting your paragraph together. So in order to fill this out, as you're reading the text for today, you're going to find information that goes along with your aspect. Remember, there was architecture, agriculture, farming, things like that. You're going to find information in that chapter about that aspect, and you're going to note it right here. And it's also important that you put the page number with it. So that way, if you have to go back at any time, you can refer back to that page. Now, this column right here that says planning notes, you're going to leave that blank for now. You'll be instructed to do something with that later. Okay, so now we're going to get into our reading for today. Feel free to pause the video at any time for you to read something carefully and also to take the notes that you need to take. Okay, now we're going to get into our word work for today. The word we're focusing on today is trade. At the Grand Market in nearby Tlatelolco. Now, I apologize if that's not pronounced right. It's okay that sometimes names and things like that aren't pronounced 100% correctly, as long as you get the understanding of that sentence. Thousands of people traded daily for goods such as clothing, food, and pottery. So trade means to give something in exchange for something else, and that is a verb. So the picture I have here is a good example of trade. The one person is giving corn, the other one's giving their meat. Now, it's not just one person or the other. It's they're both giving goods equally. So now we're going to be working back on our Codex project that we were introduced to a few lessons ago. You should already have your Maya geographical features paragraph that we drafted in lesson 3. That is going to be part of our Maya paragraph here. This is what your final Codex is actually going to look like. You're going to have a piece of paper that's going to be split into 3 different sections. One's going to be Mayan, one's going to be Aztec, and one's going to be Inca. Each of those pieces is going to have your paragraph that you're going to write during this unit, and a picture and a caption to go along with it, and we're going to get into what those mean in a little bit. Right now, we're just going to be focusing on our Maya one. So remember, a codex is one of the earliest forms of books, and it had text and images, and it was folded or stitched together. The Codex project is going to present information related to your aspect that you chose about early American civilizations, and it will have those 3 pages about Maya, Inca, and Aztec, and each page will have that image and caption, and you're going to be able to share that with others. So now we're going to be talking about incorporating those images. So incorporating those images, what pictures are going to go along with it? So you're actually going to be able to search the internet for images that go along with your draft. Now remember, we're talking about the Maya draft that you should have already had written from previous lessons. So it's important that you pick a reputable website for this, because sometimes people post pictures or text about a topic that they might not have really expert experience in. It might just be an interest to them. So it's really important that when you look for a specific website, it's got to have the things about the aspect you need, and it's actually trustworthy. So a good way to check that is to find another source, another website that has the same kind of information, and see if the information matches up. If it matches up, it means that that is actual information about that civilization. So just be very careful when you do that. Also, when you're picking your image, it has to go along with your aspect. If you chose architecture, we shouldn't see farming happening. It has to be go along with your specific paragraph, and it supports your paragraph. And I'm going to show you what that means. And then afterwards, when you're done with that, you're going to create a caption. So a caption is a brief text that describes the image, and a strong one is going to help you, the reader, understand what you're writing about. So in order to draft your caption, you can start with the image shows, my paragraph's about, my caption could say. These are good ways to get your brain thinking of how is this caption going to support my writing. So this is my example. So back in a few lessons ago, I did share with you an example of a paragraph for a Mayan civilization, and it was about the mountainous rainforest. So when I went on the online, I looked for an example of a mountainous rainforest, so that way if someone was to read my paragraph, I had this picture that supports it and gives them a mental image of what it is. So this image shows the mountainous rainforest where some of the Maya lived. So my paragraph was about how the diverse land was where the Maya civilization was developed. So this shows how diverse the land is. So in order for me to caption this, I would say the mountainous rainforest is one example of the diverse geographical features of the location where the Maya lived. It shows what's happening and also explains, okay, this is why this picture is being used. So when you pick a picture, it has to support what your paragraph is saying. It shouldn't just be a random picture about Mayans. Again, if you're talking about agriculture, we shouldn't see, tools and things like, well, I guess you can see some kind of tools, but you get what I'm saying. Make sure that you're using the correct pictures that go along. So that's your task for today. You're going to be looking for an image related to your writing about the Maya cultural aspect. You should have already had this built, so you should have an idea of what aspect you chose and about the paragraph. So it's really important that you reread the draft you had. You should have already had the draft prepared, so that shouldn't be a problem. So reread it before you go looking for a picture. Then when you have an idea of what you want, this is going to be your reference list. You're going to hear me talk about this again. This is very important to create. So previously we talked about plagiarism and how we don't want to copy something directly from a text because we don't want to steal the author's thoughts and feelings and things like that. This is going to give us a reference of where we got our information. So the first thing you're going to do is, what is the title of the page that you got it from? So if you were looking on a website, what was the title of that website? So for example, I might have found a book that was named Maya, Aztec, Inca. I might have read an article that said top 10 famous volcanoes. That goes here. The date is not today's date. The date is going to actually be, when was this article made? And almost all articles, if it's a reputable one, will have a date on it to tell you when it was published. And then the source, where did it come from? This is the link that you'd get at the top of your browser. You'll just copy that and you can write it in here. Obviously, you're not going to be able to copy it, but you'll be able to see that. So that's that's when you pick your, that's when you actually pick your image. That you want to use this reference list. You can actually use your reader as an example. The reader, the title of your reader, and the inside page of your reader is the copyright or publishing date. You'll put that here, and you can write reader because that is what the actual item is. So this is where you're going to list your reference information about the pictures that you find. Remember, your caption is going to start with one of these sentences, and you're going to actually upload your image and the caption that you wrote with it. So remember, for this to be accepted, we want to see an image that goes along with the aspect you chose and a caption that goes and supports it and goes along with your paragraph. This is very important for you to remember. This is what your teacher is looking for. And we will see everyone in our next video.